Sometimes as a leader, you can work hard in the short term but still fail to achieve big picture goals. How do you keep your short-term work aligned with long-term objectives?
Well, actually, I laughed about this one because I have a really a very capable EA who's very good at saying, "Look, could you stop messing about and get on with what's important? Because we've got some things to make happen here." And so, look, it is really easy sometimes, and I think it's actually okay to let yourself play around a little bit in the detail. But at the end of the day, it's really important keeping in mind what you're trying, the big picture. And it's actually the conversations you have all day, every day. It's about making sure that you keep the big picture in mind. And even if you do that, then everything else becomes irrelevant. So if you're not driving things forward, if you're not solving problems, if you're not actually making things happen, then there's no point.
Short-termism is the biggest problem that organisations, both commercial and not-for-profits, are dealing with today. The next quarter results are often seen as the most important element, so you then lose sight of the future and the vision. And I think boards and CEOs have to be very careful that they don't operate on the short-termism that is infecting most organisations today, both not-for-profit and commercial for-profit. How you overcome that is you need to be practical. You need to put a sticky note on your screen that says, "Don't forget the future." You need to actually have as the first agenda item in your board agenda our future or our strategy. You need to, in your executive team meetings, need to have a first agenda item, how are we doing in the long term, and then we'll get on to the operational or the short term, or the meeting, the next board meeting that we have to work towards. Often what happens is we tend to work towards meetings or diary dates, and again, it's very easy to lose sight of the future. And a great organisation has a great vision, and the CEO's role is to communicate that and never lose sight of that.
It's a challenge at times, but I think it's around prioritising. I think you've got to understand your strategic plan and have a really clear strategy in place, and then have priorities within those strategies so that you then have key result areas which have then timelines and who's responsible. And I'm very impatient and I want everything done yesterday. And so to have a 3-year strategy set out for me where I can actually say, okay, we don't need to do that this year, that can wait till next year, or we don't need to do that in the next 6-month period, I can make that wait while we do this piece of work. That helps me understand the longer term strategy, but then make it real in the shorter term. So 3-year strategy, annual business plans, and then working out that annual business plan. In the back of ours, we have business priorities, and I do it by quarter, and then we have each initiative or proposal by month or quarter, and then we report on those to back up to the board.
Every decision you make, you've got to say, how is this going to take us towards that long-term strategy? So I suppose I have in my head, in Make-A-Wish, our goal is to get 2,000 great wishes. What does it require to get to 2,000 great wishes? Well, we've actually got to have a capacity process that's going to drive that. We've got to have a quality process. What's then going to drive the capacity? What's then going to drive the quality? So you just break that down. So I've all the time got a simple set of processes or drivers that get us there. How does this decision relate to those? And how does it take the next step towards the 2,000 great wishes? If I can't answer that question, why am I making this decision? What do we need it for? It's always having a view to the long term. I think when I was a young CEO, I often used to talk about whitewater rafting. I'm no longer able to do that. But I'm sort of saying you're sort of being tossed around, but unless you can sort of see further down the river, you'll get yourself into a gully. And that's what a CEO has to do. They've got to say, what's the strategic plan? What's the long-term goal? My job is to be above all the noise, focusing on that all the time. And so therefore, if I'm losing sight of that, I've got to stop, recapture the vision, and then go back to the decision making.